Hello, family. It's good to talk with you. I feel good in my soul to be able to bring a message to you that may help you. I want to talk today about fighting for your soul, the second part of it, fighting for your soul. And I said fight for your soul because underhandedly the devil has taken our souls, having us to pray to another God, not our God. And so we have to fight to find our way back to our God, our truthful God, who He is. And a young lady asked me about Isaiah 53 1 to 6. And this is part of the Bible that they relate to Jesus Christ to say that this is Jesus Christ. I'm going to read some of it. um, This is Isaiah 53, and I'm going to start in 1. Who has delivered, who has believed that we have heard? And to whom has the arm of the Most High been revealed? For he grew up before him like a young plant, and like a root out of a dry ground. He had no form of comeliness that we should look at him. He was unattractive, okay? And no beauty that you should desire him. He was rejected. He was rejected and despised by men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief, and as one from whom men hid their faces. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. Truly, he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we esteem him strictly smitten by God and afflicted, but he was wounded for our transgression, and he was bruised for our iniquities. Upon him was chastisement that made us whole, and was his stripes. Through his stripes we were healed. So this is relating to this young lady is a Christian. She wanted me to explain it. She thought she got me there because she just know that they're describing their Jesus. This man was unattractive. He was not a good-looking man, but he carried our burdens. Let me tell you something about this man. This man was a black man who was born way back during the time of our exile, because when the Messiah came was after we was exiled from Jerusalem. And he preached the gospel. They didn't believe him. He was a black man. He was the seed of David. And eventually they killed him. They hung him on the tree. And I'm going to show you, this was not your Jesus that was being described here. Let me read this. 10, chapter 53, verse 10. And I'm reading from the Oxford Bible. Yet it was the will of the Most High to bruise him. He has put him to grief when he makes himself as offspring for sin. He shall see his offspring. He shall prolong his days. You know, your Jesus never had a children. He never had an offspring. He never had a child. There's no way he's talking about your Jesus. He's talking about the Messiah, the black man that came preaching the gospel, and his own people who had converts who converted into Judaism. Those was his enemy because he was the rightful heir of the kingdom. But these people that injected themselves into the tabernacle and called themselves Jews, these are people who say they practice Judaism, but I don't think they do. And they're definitely not the blood. They don't have the blood of David. And this Jesus does not have the blood of David. And Mary, his mother, there is no way they can trace her back to the blood. So how is it possible that your Jesus has the blood of David? Because they're not talking about your Jesus in Isaiah chapter 53. He's talking about the black Messiah who came to this earth to preach the gospel, and they hung him on a tree. And they've been hanging his people ever since. Now, we are the people of the ancient ones. We have the soul of our ancient ones. But we have to fight to find our God. We have to fight for our soul salvation because we are definitely at the end. And many of you think that you have him because you're a Christian. And Christianity has been spread all over the world. But you have to understand that it's a setup for God's children. And in Galatians 5, it says that if you are circumcised, you are of no advantage to Christ. You are cut off from Christ. So therefore, being that we still believe in the law of the Most High, then we're cut off from Jesus Christ. Because he said so in Galatians and in Ephesians. They talked about those who still serving the law, under the law, and they want you to serve Jesus instead. And all you got to do is just believe in his name and you'll be saved. Wake up, people. Wake up. Jesus cannot save you. He cannot, because he is not the Messiah. The Messiah has come and been hung, and he's going to be born again through the seed of David. He's coming back. There's a birth, and I think he's already been born. He's already here, and he's from the seed of David. And but we have to make sure we stop calling on the idol God. Now, Jesus is the stepson of Jacob. And if he's the stepson of Jacob, how in the world does he have the bloodline of David? How would Jesus, your Jesus Christ, have the bloodline of David? That is, you've got to wake up and ask yourself these questions and get answers. And the Most High God say you must be persuaded in your own minds, not because of what somebody told you, but because you studied and you believe it, because you found answers and you found witnesses to this belief. Now, the coming of Messiah is mentioned in the Old Testament and has never mentioned Jesus. The coming Messiah is the offspring of David, and Jesus is not the offspring of David. Jesus is David. Jesus was his father, Joseph, stepson. He was his stepson according to the New Testament. I mean, it's all written. You just got to read it and take the blinders off your eyes. You have to ask the Most High to take the blindness off your eyes and let you see. Now, there are 27 books in the New Testament, and 13 of those books was written by Paul. Now, Paul wrote letters while he was in jail, and he wrote letters, and he had the letters published, and those letters became part of the Bible, the New Testament. Now, the rest of the New Testament was written by Greeks. And the scroll they found, they say, was so damaged that they had to insert their own words. You look it up for yourself. The scroll, they say, was damaged so badly that the Greeks had to enter their thoughts, project their thoughts to finish making up the New Testament. Everything I'm telling you is true. You just need to look it up. Okay. Now, many of us, especially Christians, think that God has no special people, that we all the same. And that's what they tell you. Oh, God love us all. We are all the same. You know, there is no special people anymore. He just love us all. Listen, wake up, people. Wake up. Listen, there is a special people in the world. We are those special people. And he said, yeah, he loved the world, but he said he hated Esau. He loved Jacob, but he said he hated Esau. So do you think now he's loving the whole world and he loved all Esau children too? He hated Esau. So don't think that God is all about love. He's about love, but he's about love and righteousness. He's about his servants serving him. He's about us celebrating him. He's about his people recognizing him and coming back to him with their whole heart. So I want you to wake up and smell the coffee. Your time is getting shorter and shorter. In Samuel, 2 Samuel, the 7th verse in the 7th chapter in the 12th verse. When your days are filled and you lie down with your fathers, I will raise up your offspring after you, who will come forth from your body, and I will establish his kingdom. Now, Jesus did not come from the blood of David. It's all about the blood. The special people carries the blood of David, and they want you to forget about that. Oh, that doesn't exist anymore. God have no special people. Those are lies. God has special people. We are still alive. We're still here. We are the ancient ones. We are those of the Hebrews who began with the Bible. They began. We are those Hebrews of the Old Testament. Okay. Now, Jeremiah, the 30th chapter, and I'm going to read, it's the 7th to the 9th verse. Alas, that day is so great, there is none like it. It is a time of distress for Jacob. Yet he shall be saved out of it all. You hear that? Yet he still shall be saved out of it all. Now we know the trouble and the distress of Jacob has been the black people being slaughtered in America. It's about the ancient ones. It's about our ancestors who was enslaved for 400 years. We're coming out of it now. But he said that, yeah, we're going to be under a lot of distress, and most of us have all of our lives been under distress, one worry or the other, because of our adversary keeping his foot on our neck. And it's time for us to rise. We are Jacob. We are from the seed of Jacob, the father. And we are under David. David offspring is coming, is been born, and is going to set up a kingdom, set up a government, which is happening now. 8, and I'm reading Jeremiah 30th chapter, from the 7th to the 12th verse, and I'm on the 8th verse now. And it shall come to pass in that day, says the Most High of hosts, that I will break the yoke from off their neck, and I will burst their bonds, and strangers shall no more make servants of them. But they shall serve the Most High, their God, and David their king, whom I will raise up for them. So David offspring is the Messiah that he's going to raise up in these last days. David offspring is the Messiah, and he's flesh and blood, and he's coming from a mother and a father. Jesus was fabricated, I believe. I just, they made all that up and fit in scripture from the Old Testament and wrote it the way they wanted it to be. Now, and when it says here, I will raise up for David a righteous branch, and he shall reign as king and deal wisely, and will execute justice and righteousness in the land. And that's what the offspring of David is coming back. He's coming back as king of God's nation. He's going to be the king, and he's going to bring righteousness back to this place. He's going to set up a new era that follows the Most High God, that follow his laws and statutes. You cannot get around that, because his laws and statute is what causing us to continue to have life. We must follow them. But now is the world say, no, you don't have to follow them. Just believe that Jesus is the Son of God. So you see how they're taking you from your God and giving you their God that they made up? Do you see? And if you don't understand this now, you need to keep searching, because you will. And execute justice and righteousness in the land. Ezekiel 37th chapter and the 24th verse. 37:24. My servant David shall be king over them, and they shall all have one shepherd. One shepherd. Okay? And David shall be king. Now, if David gonna be king in the last days, where do that put Jesus? How do he fit into this? Isaiah 4:19. You whom I took from the ends of the earth and called from the farthest corners, saying to you, you are my servant. I have chosen you and not cast you off. I will uphold you with my victorious right hand. He has not cast us away, as the world want you to believe that there is no more special people, that he has cast us away. Right here is proof. He says, I will not cast you off. I will uphold you with my victorious right hand. Isaiah 9, and I'm going to read verse 6 to 7. And I'm going to read it out of the Oxford Bible because, okay, Isaiah 9. I'm going to read it here because this was one of the scripture, I believe, that the young lady was questioning, and she thought it was Jesus. Okay. 9. Okay. 6 to 7. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God. Now, he's talking about this child that shall be born, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, because he's going to have to form a government. The weight of this government is taking toll upon the Son of the Most High God. Now, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. 7. Of the increase of his government and of peace, there will be no end. So the offspring of David is coming to set up a government. He's coming to guide God's people back into peace, a peaceful life. Upon the throne of David, I'm going to read 7 again. Of the increase of his government and of peace, there will be no end upon the throne of David and over his kingdom, to establish it and to uphold it with justice, with righteousness, from this time forth and forevermore. So David, offspring, yes, his offspring is coming back to rule. But they want you to believe, they want you to believe that there is no Messiah, that he's Jesus is the Messiah. No, it says nowhere in the Old Testament where it says a child is born and they just take that to mean Jesus. No, Jesus not coming back. The Messiah is coming back to establish God's kingdom on earth, to establish his government. And I just read that. And if you want to read it again, please do. It's Isaiah, the 9th chapter. Read it and get your understanding and see if you believe as we believe. And, okay, the government shall be upon his shoulder. And he will perform righteousness. He will bring peace and justice and righteousness back to this earth. And he will be a king over us, all of us, not just the Hebrews, not just the tribe, but he'll be king over the whole earth. And that will be established in time when God says so. You know, it's up to you how much you value yourself or your soul. But to me, it doesn't make sense to live in this world and have the pleasures of this world and die and go to hell. Because there is a hell, you know. They want you to believe there's no hell. But there is a hell, and it's described in the Bible. I'm not going to get into that one right now. But search for your souls. Fight for your soul. Fight for it. Talk to the Most High, and you shall receive. You shall receive knowledge, the wisdom, and the understanding of the Most High God and who you are in him. You just have to want it bad enough. Submit to him. Give up your way for his way. Give yourself totally to him. Do the best that you can possibly do. Because I don't mean Christianity, but coming to the Most High God It is steps. It comes in steps. You can't get it all overnight. We should shake the trash from our hearts. Every unclean thought, everything that is in our soul that is unclean, we need to fix it. He want no blemish, no blame, no spots in you. It's not about your physical, it's about your spiritual. And I'm going to say shalom, shalom, and shalom. I love you, family.